Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to another episode of Sour Graps Spring Breakin edition. I'm Alex, and this is Kate, and we normally do a thing here where Kate starts talking, and
I do start talking, and I interrupt you to tell you that this is the NXT post show for April 23rd. Get in your super chats, get in your humper chats at humperchats.com. So much breaking news over on Fightful Select. We hit 15,000 subscribers, which is absolutely bonkers. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. It's truly incredible that we were the first to hit such a milestone, and that the continued trust that you guys put in us shows up the way that it does. So thank you so much. For those of you who are unfamiliar, there is a free tier as well, where you can get updates on things that are a little bit more sensitive in nature, injuries, releases, anything to do with the sex trafficking investigation. Stuff like that is free because it's icky to have otherwise. And you also get access to the headlines of what's on the paid tier. So you can kind of see little teases of what goes on over there. But you can subscribe for the best $5 in the biz for all the scoop skis you could ever want. We're going to bring Corey on in just a moment to talk about some NXT scoops, including stuff going on in the draft, some booking decisions that I think were indicative of who might be going and staying for the NXT brand, especially at the end there. So very, very happy for what looks to be the handwriting on the wall for Ilja Dragunov. But yeah, it was like putting on an old sweater, Alex. We got back to last week was like a really good episode, and it made me feel itchy. This was a roller coaster with some really good and some really bad stuff, and like that's what we signed up for when we started doing a Sour Graps post show. We didn't sign up for you complimenting Dominic Mysterio in my absence yesterday.
It's a character specific mustache, and I respect it.
That, you know what, that I do respect the facial hair game, but I will say that is just when I got messages alarmed that you were saying nice things about Dominic Mysterio, I was hooting and hollering. But let's bring in Corey. We're going to talk about some of the scoops that he had on Fightful Select earlier. And mostly I think this will be to get his thoughts on who might be going up in the draft and who will not be. We got a little bit of an indicator of that, but hi, Cowardly Corey. How are you today?
We want Corey.
Boo! Corey sucks.
Corey
sucks. Not really. Corey is absolutely killing it on Fightful Select and on regular Fightful too, by the way. But definitely our lead on the NXT side for a lot of stuff, and we got some booking that was indicative of where people may be going today. But Corey, I'll throw it over to you to kick off anything else that you wanted to talk about scoops wise, and then we can kind of talk draft to where we think people might be ending up.
Tonight's episode was one that was obviously set up for a while. It was a special episode, so there was a lot of motivation going into it. But tonight the biggest match that really caught everyone's attention as kind of being off was the beach brawl match, and that was indicative of what the reaction was like backstage as well. I'm told that earlier during the rehearsals, they actually went over how long they were supposed to rehearse the match, because they simply were just trying to find different kinds of spots that they could put into the stipulation. So the last thing I heard about was they were still struggling, and I think that did come across on TV because Soul and Blair kind of looked lost at times with what they were doing.
I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorites.
I enjoyed it in the end, but at first, especially with Blair's more serious character, and I feel like there could have been a more serious way to present that stipulation than how they did it. But that's just me. I'm surprised you liked it, Alex, to be honest.
It's a trick or street fight. It's a trick or street fight, but it's a surf or turf fight.
Yeah,
it's a surf or turf fight, and they surf one out. So
yeah, I am very well aware that Sol Ruca is from the surfing world. That has been shoved down our throats to the ultimate extent. But I actually thought, I think they're doing a good job of showing us that she is more than surfing and a cool finisher. And even in this gimmicky match today, we saw some really cool selling from her today. So, and I'm a huge fan of Blair. So I thought they did a pretty good job with it. But yeah, if you have like if at any point you have a kiddie pool filled with a thing, it's gonna come across as cheesy, but I come to expect cheesy from NXT. So that's not surprising at all. But I think the big news today, we have a new NXT champion, kind of as you had indicated last week, seemed to have come to fruition. No changes there. We got Trick Williams going over today and Ilja Dragunov looking to go up to the main roster. We also saw Johnny Gargano coming down to kind of give Trick a pep talk. And man, if they're breaking up DIY, which I'm not a fan of on the main roster, but to give us Dragunov and Gargano as an up-and-coming feud,
wow, you are reaching for that in your fantasy booking. I don't know what gave you that impression.
Well, him coming down, I was hoping that like if he was going to be there to talk Trick up, we would get like Trick going over and then a stare down or something at the end between the two, but they didn't do that. So, so yeah, was what it was. But Corey, any other thoughts on the draft? Have you heard anything? Any other gut feelings on who might be going where, and anybody that you're expecting from the main roster to maybe show up in NXT?
There's a couple of names both ways to the other. I've been told that the people who are going to come down, it's not going to be a case of, you're not going to see someone like Drew McIntyre be drafted to NXT. Let's just say that.
Oh, okay.
Well, people are asking me things like that. People are asking me that kind of question on what kind. It's the obvious answer. It's exactly who you think will be drafted to NXT. It's going to be the people at the bottom of the card, people who need a repackage or something like that. Something new, because it's a proven formula. Look at Baron Corbin coming down. Look at Natalya having runs on the brand constantly. Like every time, when she comes that right, we all know how good Natalya is.
No. Yeah, it's a proven formula thing is what I'm taking exception to, because look at what they did to Apollo Crews, right? Like it doesn't work every time. That guy came down and got drafted as a free agent, and we've seen him twice since. So. Proven formula. We'll see. It's proven it can be done. It's just if they do it.
That's the other thing. The Baron Corbin thing has worked in NXT. I would argue Apollo Crews worked in NXT. They called up Apollo Crews back up and have done nothing with him. If they draft Corbin up to the opposite brand of Braun Breaker, because they figure we want to make Breaker a singles guy, we want Corbin on the other brand, and then they do nothing with Baron Corbin, then it has proven to not work as opposed to proven to work.
Yeah.
But so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Apollo Crews had a robot eye, and I don't know if that run worked. I don't know.
After the robot eye went away, I thought
he had a blow off with Commander Aziz, but we're not here to talk Apollo Crews.
I blocked the robot eye out in my head because I don't remember it. The slightest. I was sitting there thinking, when the fuck did he have a robotic eye? I remember the Nigerians. I remember the Nigerian.
No, he had an eye that wouldn't stop bleeding, and he bled all over Grayson Waller. It was a weird time. I don't even want to get into it now. Yeah, well, it was 2.1.
Okay, I didn't watch 2.0.
They didn't fully bleed over to the next one, but yeah.
Nice he was a diner vigilante, is what Alex was calling him.
Exactly.
We don't need to harp on Apollo Crews. But my point being, it's as much as they want to be invested in, right? So, I'm intrigued to see what happens with the draft. My hope is that the delineation of brands means we don't get the testament working in both places. We don't get people kind of flowing back and forth. We still don't know why the Good Brothers went away and came back.
I don't either. I don't either. Like every time I ask, it's just like they have a different schedule to other people. Is what I keep getting told. It's very up and down with them. I don't know where they're going to end up in the draft, but it's funny that you do mention like going back and forth and such. The free agent concept that we've seen. I've heard, I don't know if Sean's heard this, but I've heard that it's very much going to be scaled back. It's only going to be the biggest names who are going to be free agents. Like obviously with the last one, we had Mustafa Ali, we had Von Wagner, we had Corbin, we had that. It was spread out throughout the roster. And for the most part, it's not worked. Anyone who's been a free agent has only competed on one brand anyway. So it was kind of pointless to begin with. So I don't know who's going to be a free agent, but I would only imagine it's going to be the biggest names like Punk, maybe Logan Paul, because they can't seem to decide whether he's going to be a full-time star. I in terms of NXT names who could be free agents, though, I don't think there's going to be many, if at all, because obviously we saw how that worked for Von Wagner.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah. Speaking of Von Wagner, we did have his release come through, and even though it didn't feel like we saw a ton, or to be honest, like very, very little progress from him in the time that he was in NXT. Always sucks when people lose their jobs. Same with Cameron Grimes. He had been called up to the main roster, but hadn't really done anything. Had some incredible work in NXT. I felt like at the weirdest parts of 2.0, him and Duke Hudson had some of the best character work that was being done inside this very wacky and gimmicky environment. So I just know that Trevor Lee is going to do absolutely incredible work. If you can find the promo he did before that hair match that he had with Duke Hudson, you will see what that guy is capable of. And it's unfortunate they didn't take advantage of what his ceiling is, because he's incredible. And all the To the Moon and the Stonk stuff was really fun and great. But he also had this incredibly sincere side that when they let him tap into it was a sight to be seen. I really feel that. And knowing what he's capable of character-wise, I wouldn't be surprised to see him show up in TNA or somewhere else. But I try not to do the fantasy booking thing on top of people's releases. That feels gross. But everybody has the natural inclination of, well, where could they go? That guy's character work, I feel like, lends itself to the TNA environment and a hell of an indie run. So just sucks when people lose their job. Like that's just a brutal thing. And so, yeah, just the best to them and the other releases that happened last week. But it's a bummer because, to me, Cameron Grimes feels like a victim of, we had so much Triple H Vince, and that guy just never was able to find footing on the main roster with all the switches. But it's certainly not a lack of skill and talent with that guy. So like he's someone that I think is a really, really special talent. And while this is an exquisitely painful time for people, and that video that he put out absolutely broke my heart. I know that there's bright days ahead for that guy because he's fantastic. Von Wagner, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that guy just didn't feel like he made a ton of progress. They had very high hopes for him.
But they continued to feature him in
heavily.
I would anchor bonkers ass stories. That
he never had a chance.
That showed that well, we're putting our TV time behind this guy. We had a storyline where a top guy, kayfabe, crushed his skull with the steel steps, and then we showed him like learning how to walk again in a hospital to come back and get revenge on the guy who put him in there, and he lost the revenge match. But that's okay, because after that he put that dude through a table. And then they did like weird vignettes where he's having Thanksgiving dinner at his manager's house and weirdly bonding with the small children. Like, this was, but they said, they didn't say, oh, I don't know if you're ready yet. They're like, if they don't think he's ready yet, then they have no business using him as much as they did.
Right.
If they're then going to go, you haven't made a lot of progress. I mean, that was evident to anybody who was watching him, you using him that as much as you did. So,
agreed.
It's funny that you said that, Alex, because that's largely what I've got from people that I spoke to. It's kind of a case of, I know Sean was told that he just didn't seem to be excelling at the pace that he should have based on his experience. But from the NXT talent that I spoke to, at least, it was a case of that they felt like he was brought up, quote unquote, to the main roster without a plan, and it just he didn't have any direction, and that's why he just quickly became back to NXT. And the thing is, with those vignettes that you talked about, people again glowing praise for them. The fact that he leaned into them and he did them, and he had no complaints about doing these absolutely bonkers vignettes. So no one that I spoke to could really understand his release more than even Zaya and Jinders, because he just never really got a consistent chance behind him. And so to me personally, I'm baffled by that release.
I'm less baffled because I don't feel like it was probably premature to push him on television the way that they did, but I didn't see. I'm not surprised when people say they haven't seen the progress because he had been there for years, and I don't think we ever unlocked what was going to make him stand out. So there's some people that like it's unfortunate when there's people that have a really high ceiling that they don't really push at all, and then there's people that they don't know what their ceiling is and they give them a mega push, and sometimes those things just don't line up, and it feels like he got pushed into, I mean, he was like Kyle O'Reilly's hunting and beer drinking buddy for a while. Like, he was all over the map. So that could be another start and stop of what the creative switches were too, for all we know. But it's never a good day when someone loses their job. That just sucks. That just sucks. But speaking of Von Wagner, his manager, we had a report on Fightful Select. Robert Stone is now also in the match production side of things. He had seen some in-ring action not long before this as well. He was pretty decent in the ring and the storyline that he was in. Any additional context that you want to give for that? That was another one that we heard was producing after the news of Sean Spears a week or two ago.
Just like I think I said this last week, but I'll say it again. And when someone starts producing in NXT, it's not just that they produce; they also start coaching as well. A lot of the producers, pretty much all of the producers that are listed every week, are also coaches at the Performance Center, or they take coaching sessions every now and again as guest coaches. So Stone has been doing that. Spears has been doing that. Like mentioned in the report last week, Wesley Blake's been doing it for a while as well. So from a producer standpoint, it is a lot of former talent. Like, you've got Fifth Finlay and all that in NXT. And to be honest, the experience factor in NXT is so important. It's all these people that you see who is producing these matches, and you're like, okay, that makes sense, because it's just that style of matchup. Like, for example, Terry Taylor tends to produce a lot of the main event matches for NXT. He produced tonight's main event, he produced last week's main event, he produced the Stand and Deliver main event, and so on and so on. As for Robbie, I don't know if this is the end of him as a on-screen talent. I hope it isn't, personally, because I think he's absolutely hilarious and charismatic, and just needs the right right person to be the advocate for, really.
He has managed a lot of losers. It's been
and people who got released.
The problem with Robert Stone is he has been saddled with exclusively losers. And if you actually gave him somebody who looks great and can do all the things athletically and be a powerhouse in the ring, but maybe isn't ready to give promos yet, what managers used to be there for, I feel like a guy that I've only seen him in one match, but I loved him, is Keanu Carver. That dude is incredibly impressive athletically. He's very strong. I don't know if he can cut promos yet, but I venture to say he can't because he's not on TV. So if you get Robert Stone to start angling for matches for him, get him like a 20-match win streak where he just crushes people, and Stone gets him better and better opponents until he gets a title match, which he looks good in, but ultimately loses. All of a sudden, you've built a new guy using a manager to do what a manager's supposed to do: cut promos, promote his client. And they never do that with managers. They barely let Stokely do that when he was there, ever.
One of the best, one of the best, truly. And with Diamond Mind, of all things. So, I think on screen, he certainly still has value, but it is good to hear that he's still being utilized, because I think naturally you're kind of like, oh, did they let the act go? Like we did, unfortunately, see with Jinder Mahal and Veer Sangha, right? Like sometimes they get rid of entire acts, but if he's having additional backstage value, that's excellent news to hear. Corey, anything else that you want to talk about while you're here?
I'm seeing my Twitter absolutely blow up because I said that I was I was working on a Def Rebel report for later in the week, so I guess I should plug that. And so far, the only thing that I can talk about yet, obviously, it's all going to be in the report. I'm still working on it, but the only thing I can confirm now is that when Randy Orton returned, they considered changing his theme music. At the time, I couldn't find out who produced it, but it was supposed to be a Def Rebel. It was, sorry, not supposed to be. It was a Def Rebel produced remix of Voices. And I hate to, and I saw someone say on Twitter as well. Randy probably turned around and said, "That doesn't work for me, brother." That's essentially what happened. Randy was not having that theme. It was Randy, Triple H, and Michael Hayes. They played it through, and within about 10 minutes of it being played through in the arena, one of my sources went, "Yeah, that's not being used."
I'm sorry. When you mentioned Randy Orton, I was like, I don't think that went over too well.
No.
Like, I feel like Randy's the kind of guy who's like, no. Like 3
No.
bars in, he's like, you can cut that shit off right now. We're not doing that.
They didn't even get through a full playthrough. They didn't even get through a full playthrough, from what I know. Randy just, from what I'm told, Randy just was not happy. Because at the time as well, I was asking, is it the hard rock version that Rev Theory released? And no, it's not that one. Couldn't tell what kind of remix it was until a couple of days ago. One of my sources messaged me and goes, "Yeah, that was a Def Rebel one."
It's not. Again, like, especially right now, certainly never wish that people are out of jobs, but it is something that has to be addressed, and it makes me wonder if they are, because Sheamus came back to his old theme. Like, it feels like there's at least awareness that things are not working, and the Royal Rumble was such a clear indicator of that, of people not getting the pops that if you hear the glass shatter,
yeah,
right,
you go out of your mind. You hear Kevin Owens' theme hit, you go out of your mind, right? And these newer themes just don't have that bite, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're aware. I'm a big Too Many Limes gal myself, so I appreciate that. But that is very funny, because Randy Orton, of all people, seems like the first one that would be like,
yeah,
hell no. If he did not like it. I can't stand what they did with AJ's. If it's like more remix stuff, I think that was good for Randy, because his presentation is very important.
Like, this is the thing I will say, just to clear the air, they're not getting released. The deal is not getting terminated or anything like that. It's just it's just going to be a general report on a lot of things. I'm hoping to have when their deal is up in that report. I don't know for sure. It's not anytime soon. I know that. So just to let people know, if they do end up terminating the deal, it will be a big deal, because it will be way before they run out. And on top of that, like, I have to say as well, guys, you're going to be disappointed, because there's a slow phasing out happening right now of CFO themes and other themes. You've seen it so far, slowly but surely. And one thing as well that I do want to say now, that is kind of, you can kind of tell it's not too much of a scoop to say this, but they don't work with talent before they produce their theme music. They don't consult with the talent. They don't have conversations with the talent, what they want out of it.
That would be a good place to start as far as changes.
And now, the people who I did speak to who had themes made by CFO, they did say if CFO would speak to them for a while, it would be a very long, not a very long process, but it wouldn't be just like they'd be consulted. They'd be down to them. So yeah,
that's actually a little bit like egregious to hear.
Yeah.
Because if you are writing a theme that it should be inspired by someone's character, you should probably talk to that person about their character. That's like actually kind of gross. That feels like malpractice to hear.
That's the feeling. That's the feeling that I got from the talent that I spoke to, and I did. And that's the thing. I did speak. This is the thing. This has been something that obviously pretty much since I started getting more scoops for Fightful than just like solely NXT. It's been the biggest thing people have asked me about, and it's something that I've been building, like just adding details here and there in the report right now. But I'm hoping to have it later this week. If it's not this week, it will be soon. It's something, like I said, I have been working on a while, so I just want to make sure I get this right. And that, so when that's ready to go, it'll be on Fightful Select. Best $5 in the business, guys. If you're not subscribed, you should be already. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I worked at a music studio and I'm not an engineer. And if I can tell that you're using stock Pro Tool sounds, that's not good. That's not good if I can tell.
See, the problem with that is Trick Williams' theme is just stock. It's not Def Rebel produced. It's not any. It's just stock music.
Yeah.
And it's gotten over big time, so it doesn't need to be over complicated. Look, like MJF's theme music is stock as well.
His theme?
Like
Alex loves it. I hate it.
but that's what I'm not even saying that. It's just my point. My point is just that like they don't need to be overproduced. They don't need to like. I just feel like they really do need to go back to the drawing board or just take it seriously, because right now with everything sounding the same, everything having the same formula, it's just it is leaving a lot more to the talent and to production to kind of save the entrances, because the first thing you hear is a wrestler's theme song. And me and you have talked about this, Kate, before, about how it's just so bad. Like
it's so bad, and it's actually, you realize how vital it is when it's bad, almost more than when it's good. Almost more than when it's good. But Corey, thank you so much for coming on and clarifying those scoops. I'm sure that you'll have more updates as the draft comes closer. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Producer's article coming tomorrow, as usual. Backstage notes from tonight's show. Obviously, we're sitting here now at, what time is it over for you guys? I can't do the maths. It's nearly 11 p.m. for you guys. So I probably have more in the morning. And yeah, I've got more interviews coming up. I'm going to try and interview more UK and Irish talent again after a hectic period. And yeah, guys, if you haven't already, I know Kate and Alex are probably going to say this as well. If you haven't already, send your love to Sean. He is going through one of the hardest times a person can go through right now, and he deserves all the love in the world, because he's always there for us whenever anything happens to us. And I think I speak for everyone at Fightful that we'd all run through a brick wall for Sean. So just send him some love, let him know that he is loved, and we're all here for him.
Like Rhea Ripley style. I would put out my own shoulder. If he like lightly threw me into one like Liv Morgan, I would bust my own shoulder for months for that guy. That's how much we love Sean here. But yeah, echoing Corey's thoughts on that, please send Sean love. He gets more than enough hate. So if you can equalize that a little bit as he's going through a tough time, absolutely, please.
I would just simply choose a weaker wall. You know,
that's fair. You could go through your brick wall. That was the fake brick wall.
Not a real
Looney Tunes style.
Yeah,
Looney Tunes style, leave an imprint in the wall like that.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I would do. But yeah,
guys, head over to Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Follow Corey at Corey Brennan FF. He's got more NXT news and scoops for you all the time. But Corey, thanks for coming on as always and clarifying some more of those details for us. We appreciate you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Okay.
I still had to. I didn't even call him a coward yet, coward. But he did his job and got his scoop. So I guess he's not a coward this week. But
so let's get started.
Yeah, we gotta dive in.
we're a half hour into this thing. Tim McFall says, have to watch it on delay, but wanted to send monies for the best podcast in the biz. Great title matches with the right winners. Ilja headed to the main, and Lola Vice is a star. Also, Corey is the best. Corey is the best. Corey number one. Gambeard says, Kate, as Luke from Wrestle Talk says, it's lobster head. Too many times. I don't know what that means.
Too many limes. Too many limes. Sheamus, they would call out.
Oh, I thought it said times. I don't know what that is. I guess I don't watch enough Wrestle Talk. Paul Elizabeth, your dad, says, greetings to the SGS, super guest host Corey, super mod Luis, the super team Kalex, and our super adopted son, JW Pringle.
Yes, of course.
Related to the Def Rebel thing, Jambeard wants WWE to hire Matt Kuhn for music.
He did FTR's Same Minute Rules. But
yeah, so that's good. Quick things about the releases. They're all about Von Wagner, actually. But I want to say Cameron Grimes was as over as anybody's ever been in NXT. And
yes.
And they called him up and shelved him immediately. They never even did anything with him
try.
at all.
That's what sucks when they don't try. when they don't
Here's
even
what-
try on the main roster sucks. Yeah.
Here's a little hindsight fantasy booking. I feel like they always should have tried him and Cedric Alexander as a tag team. Two athletic, fun to watch Carolina boys. Let that be their bond, because then it kind of alleviates the whole, you're in the same ethnic group, you're a tag team. And maybe if you have one, like, I don't know, an Owen Hart, Coco Beware, high energy type thing, maybe that would get over because it's different from everything else. And I know you love high energy.
Speaking my language. Give Cedric Alexander a parrot, a macaw just sitting right here.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do that, but yes.
Yes, you do.
Considering what happened to the last one, I feel like that's just a bad omen.
I spiraled, Alex. When I found out Frankie died in a house fire, Frankie the macaw died in a house fire, I spiraled. I did more research on that than any one person should. It made me very sad. Read interviews with Coco.
Yeah.
High energy ruled.
Mr. Showtime says the Von Wagner era is over. Miss you, sweet prince. And I don't think I'm ever going to miss him, but he was a major part of our Tuesdays for 2.5 years.
He really was.
And this show will not be the same without him.
It will not.
For better or for worse. Ian R says, anyone else sad that Von Wagner's career was, dare I say, tabled?
Oh,
I mean,
sad.
It's sad because it felt like they wanted him to be a thing, and then they just stopped wanting him to be that thing and just said, okay, goodbye.
Agreed. Yeah,
it's really weird, you know.
Anytime someone we saw it. I mean, she's not released, knock on wood.
Right.
But like, you saw it with Maxine Dupree, where they're like, we're gonna push you before we figured something out with you, and you can't. Wrestling's too weird. Wrestling's too weird to do that because everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Even the people who are good at everything are great at some things. And you have to unlock what those are before you put a whole bunch of stuff behind him. But Alex, he was in like the fatal 4-way of the first episode of NXT 2.0.
And
that's
way
how
too early for him to be in that position. And I feel like they had to figure out a way to book from behind to try and make him live up to that positioning that they never should have put him in the position for at the beginning. If you had just given us this guy as a mid-card dude who squashed a couple of cruiserweights every few weeks, we'd be like, well, this guy might have something. As opposed to being like, who the hell is this guy and why is he in a fatal 4-way for the friggin' title? And immediately we were against this guy because we did not know who he was, and it did not feel like he deserved this spot. And they had to like scramble to figure out what they were going to do with him to justify their bad booking to start with, and that's not his fault at all.
Correct.
Jambeard says, I don't buy the not developing thing with Von Wagner because here's a hot take. He's better by a large gap than Walking Tree Man, his words, Omos. Omos is a foot taller than Von Wagner, and that makes him just an attraction. If he's a foot taller than a 6'5" guy, all of a sudden that becomes a thing that you can trot out every 6 months and get people going, wow, he's big. And that's all you need. That guy was never going to be that, aside from the fact that occasionally they would refer to him as a 300-pounder when he is in fact 255 pounds.
Yeah, they kept saying he was a giant, and I was like, literally just Dijak is taller than him. Omos also, he did start to get a little better. I will say, I'm not trying to like rub salt in the wounds of anybody who just got released by all means, but like we did not see on-screen progress of his in-ring ability, in my opinion. Like objectively, we did not see like we saw him start to chuck people around, which was fun, but a lot of his matches were like big boot, Irish whip, shoulder tackle. That's all he got. So like I understand if that's the justification for it, but again, when you look at where his abilities were versus what his push was, whenever there's a disconnect in either direction, when somebody's abilities, Cameron Grimes is a perfect example, his abilities were sky high and his push was nothing. So that is unfair to the talent in either situation, I will say.
Right.
And also, we also haven't seen Omos on TV in forever.
No, he only shows up for Royal Rumbles and things of that nature. He was at the whatever it was, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He was eliminated.
That's right.
He eliminated himself. In his zeal to shove both Creed brothers over the top rope, he ran so fast at the top rope, he just continued over the top rope.
He's a very large man.
He's a very large man.
Easy to do.
The very top of the show, there's a thing backstage where Adam Pearce made the flight, but Nick Aldis did not. That's all I'll say about that. It felt odd that there was one guy in the room and another guy on Zoom, and it was like, you could, if Nick Aldis wasn't going to make the flight, just don't have Adam Pearce make the flight and have them like on a conference call with her, because it just feels weird that Nick Aldis is like in his limo being like, yes, and I care so much about this draft that I did not get on a plane. It just felt weird. But Ava does say that after tonight, nothing will be the same. And so I wanted there to be a major deal at the end of the show, besides just Trick obviously winning the title, because we all knew he was going to.
Sure.
Like a major surprise showing up at NXT to attack Trick after he won, like foreshadowing what the next few months is going to be. And we got none of that. So the weird nothing will be the same. It's like, well, Roxanne retained. Everyone knew Trick was beating Ilja. What's never the same? There's nothing that's never the same.
Kind of weird to throw that out in part one of your 2-part special, right? Because the rest of Spring Breakin is next week. So maybe after next week, we find out that things are never going to be the same or whatever.
Yeah. Roxanne retained in the triple threat, which kicked off the show. Here's a weird deal with Tatum Paxley. So it turns out that while she has been off TV, largely not wrestling very often, she has been getting better. Isn't that weird how people who aren't burdened with having to make sure they don't embarrass themselves on television while they're not good can get good off screen, and when you give them a really big spot, they can show out, and you can be like, oh my God, I had no idea Tatum Paxley had gotten so good. I remember her being really ill-prepared for the matches she would have when she was like tagging with Ivy Nile and like looking like you don't really know where your feet are supposed to be here yet. And then they didn't have her wrestle as much. And she got better while she wasn't wrestling on TV as much. I'm sure she was on Level Up that I didn't watch. But like now she comes in, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I can see it now. I can see where Tatum Paxley could be doing some good stuff here moving forward. And I feel like that should be kind of the plan with everybody.
Sure.
Who is not yet great at this.
Sure.
And it worked with Tatum Paxley. So I think it should work with other people, you know?
It worked really well. It was kind of funny because I felt like her and Kiana James both had like similar spots and pivot points. And Tatum's, like, you could see that there was a badass wrestler in there. Like when she was doing stuff with Ivy, I'm like, you're not there yet, but you could, like, there's something unique about her and she's hard hitting. And then Kiana just like, she was someone that was ready for on screen, it felt like, and we got to see her get better, kind of like how we saw Tiffany Stratton Tiffany took off. But like Kiana, you started to see all this improvement. We didn't really get a chance to see that from Tatum, but it's because she went away and was doing this, it seems. So good for her. She looked really, really good in this. She looked really, really good in this. Very encouraging after the vignette that we got last week. I like getting to see, I like when we get to do this part of our job. This is the fun part, is when we get to see people that are getting so much better and have locked into something creatively that will, if God forbid, like the booking gets around it, but that's the thing that we get to complain about. So this is really encouraging, and she has a flavor that's all her own right now, and I hope they stick down that path. They stick down that path.
Pacing of the match was really good. I thought there weren't a lot of like, I'm taking a nap while the two of you wrestle. There weren't a lot of that moments.
Not a lot of possum
in here
spots.
at all.
No.
So I thought there were a lot of like run in and break up something or quickly steal something from somebody else. You think you've got an opening, but I'm going to run in and do a move to you. There's a lot of some really good stuff here. And I also enjoy the overall story, which is that Roxanne complained when she was the challenger in a triple threat, and because of the triple threat, somebody stole a pin from her.
Yes.
And didn't allow her to win the championship. And so in this match, Tatum hits a pump handle. It wasn't quite because Luis says, I was convinced Tatum was now a hooper after she hit a freaking Murphy's Law followed by a 450 splash. It wasn't quite a Murphy's Law. It was an interesting little flip up to like it was like a pump handle flip Michinoku driver thing. Like
yeah, that was
a little
very
sit out.
cool.
Very cool. Then up for a 450 splash, and then in runs Roxanne to basically just hit a jackknife on Tatum, and Tatum
Smart
couldn't
finish.
kick out of it. It was a really smart finish. Told the story of Roxanne being a hypocrite, which is what they're trying to do with her. But Tatum looked really good, and I feel like there's some thought that Lyra could get called up. I feel like she'd be in real danger of being another girl on the roster at this point. And they would need to trade her. Somebody from NXT who's like upper mid card would need to come down and have a run while she goes to that show where that person would have been. Because there's just not enough for you to add a Lyra to what they're doing right now and not have her be like Mia Yim level tops. And it doesn't feel like and Mia Yim is great, but she's very rarely on TV.
Which is
you know
a
what
shame.
I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a shame because she should be on TV more. Tegan Knox-ish, who's also really good, but very rarely wrestles on TV. Unless you like have Lyra go up and immediately form a tag team, and then you actually book a women's tag division that works. I don't feel like there's really a spot for Lyra up there, but if this is the end of her run, I feel like she lost her title to Roxanne, got a rematch in a triple threat with somebody she was actively working another story with, and now she can get drafted, and there's no loose ends really for her
Correct.
in NXT. So,
I still would prefer to see some inspired character promo work from her.
I also would feel that way, but again, I what I hate is when they call up somebody from NXT who's actively doing something. And
yes,
you go,
that's maddening. That's flat out maddening.
What's the rest of this story? And the story feels like it has an active endpoint here. Her and Tatum can continue to feud and have more matches against each other, but if they didn't, I feel like that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yes, agreed.
So, but I agree with you. I do not think necessarily that she has done everything she possibly can character-wise in NXT before she can learn to be better at that kind of stuff and then move up. So.
Yeah, in ring, I think she's awesome. Like, I really do. I think she does a great job. And I kind of liked we talked about this, I think, last week, the original character with her more than where she became the type of babyface she did. Also a victim of the booking a little bit. Like, there was not a lot to grasp. Because what we loved about the Tatum stuff was the way that they essentially retconned it or like spoke backwards about it. Tarantino did a little bit.
Yep.
That does nothing for Lyra, right? Like that only helps the Tatum side of things, really, because we got this like, I'm dark and twisty Goldie Champa gal. Like that rules, but that doesn't do anything for what they did to Lyra in all that time. So I would like to see, I think it's in her best interest if they find something a little bit stronger from her from a character perspective before they call her up. Because I agree with you. Like they've done a lot with the women's division and there's still so many things of like, where are spooky Scottish witches that are now not spooky Scottish witches that might be just like hot, not witches? Like I'm confused. Like they haven't clarified anything. So in general, to your point, I would like to see characters get called up with a plan and intentionality. And to your overarching point, loose ends tied up on one brand as we move on to another is something that would be very refreshing and no crossover or you are you are grounded.
No, after next week and the NXT Underground match for Natalya, I don't want to see her in NXT again unless she's only in NXT.
Right, unless she's drafted to NXT.
Yeah, she's drafted to NXT. Yeah. And by the time she has her match next week, we will know whether or not she has been drafted to NXT.
Yeah, it's also weird to do the draft in the middle of a special. Yeah, that's very odd.
Weird. So backstage, Thea is like, "Oh, it's so great that everybody is nice to me now." And Fallon is like, "Yes, everyone loves you. Here is a list of people who love you." And Jada's like, "This is too much for me. I'm sorry. I hate love fests, and I am going to stick my nose in it." And then she and Fallon get into a shoving match, and then they have a match booked for tonight. JC versus Thea is next week, so it's weird that they had the two actual real title matches, right? Not the mid card ones, not the tag ones tonight. But I think they need to do that for the draft. Maybe
I think so too.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a vignette. And I have seen clips of these two gentlemen from their work on Level Up. Again, I do not watch the show, but I do see clips of it because NXT Twitter account tweets out clips from Level Up. These two boys.
Are we talking about Jada and Fallon later, or are we talking about it?
Yeah, we're talking about that. We're talking about that because it's not in this thing, so it's not in this order. So I'm just.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
So, Tyreek Igwe, Riki. And he's going to be Riki until he gets, because it's me, and Tyson DuPont, Taidu. So Riki and Taidu are incredibly impressive athletically. I don't know if they could tell a story in the ring yet because I've never watched one of their matches, but athletically, they've got bounce and beef. And when your beef can bounce, you got something really impressive. However, this vignette, and it may have been just me, but it just feels like what they would produce as a vignette if they turned OTM babyface. It doesn't feel like this feels like, hey, these are nice guys who are in the exact same style of character as these other guys who are bad guys. And is there going to be like, this town ain't big enough for the both of us? Is there going to be that kind of a feud? Because it does feel like OTM fits this mold, but as bad guys. And these guys are like, hey, we love to have fun. Like, honestly, there's only two things you can do in classic WWE if you are of a certain amount of melanin in your skin. You can either be really street and angry and threatening to all of the normal people, or you could just love to have fun. And two versions of the same tag team right now, and we'll see how this shakes out. But the vignette did not immediately establish them as anything but, to me, a babyface version of OTM. But I'm very intrigued from the clips that I have seen for their debut next week, though they have not. It's just going to be a team that they squash, but yeah, we'll see.
I am also very intrigued by some of the I'm the same way. I've seen like a lot of just like GIFs and stuff, right? Like just clips online of things. I haven't seen full matches at all, but been very impressed so far. I don't know. That vignette did not tell me enough, and it did not feel
It felt very generic, and I wanted to see something more than generic from a first vignette for these guys.
I wasn't, like struck by anything.
Yeah.
But it was also not. This is the point we were at with NXT not that long ago. At least they don't have a weird job and are also wrestlers. So that's good, I guess. Because so much of it was like, I am an accountant, or I am a tennis player daddy's girl.
Right. Well, I don't need them to have occupations.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That I will take with their time as being wrestlers.
Yeah, exactly.
Where wrestling is my side hustle.
Yeah, I don't need this is my full-time job.
Yeah.
So this is a step in the right direction. But we've been getting some, honestly, the Tony D and Ilja vignettes were so highly produced.
Yeah,
the thing that we got from Tatum told us so much. So now they've raised the bar and you got me used to that. So I want to see more of that, but I'm reserving a little bit of judgment because I want to see more, but I agree with you so far that I really hope it isn't that, because I would like to see them diversify within their representation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This makes me happy. This way I'm not on an island as the weird guy who has weird opinions. Because Akil says, as a member of the Black community, I would agree. They feel like a babyface version of OTM. And now I'm safe. So that's good.
Yeah, it's always weird. It sucks. Like
it's weird.
You have eyes and you have thoughts and you have observations, but you certainly don't want to speak to anything racial as white people. Like that just feels dumb and wrong. So it's kind of tough to weigh in on a culture that you're not a part of. But it does feel like, from where we're sitting, exactly that.
Jambeard says, and if your beef needs help getting some bounce.
I don't have them as a sponsor tonight. You think I didn't think of that as soon as you said that?
Blue Cheat Code Fightful is for you, he says. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, thank you. No, thank you. You can say that. I just don't have the segue for it today.
Yeah, you get to say it, but we don't have to segue.
They didn't pay us for this episode. So.
Diamond Mine get interviewed. Everybody, it was like a little reunion. Hey, are you on the main roster currently? Were you in NXT at any time in the last, 3 years? Show up. It's basically was an open thing. Do you live in the Orlando area?
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah, I was like, are you in the greater Florida area?
It feels like they sent out just a blast email. Hey, if you guys could make it to the taping, it'd be great if you could come.
And that's why Nick Aldis was like, I can't make it, but if you guys have a virtual feature, I'm in.
Yeah. So Diamond Mine puts over Trick. There was another thing backstage where JD picked Ilja and Pete Dunne was there. Pete Dunne picked Ilja, but Tyler Bate was like, I think it's Trick. I think it's Trick. There was a lot of people that were there. So they all got to, just like have little interviews of, who's going to win. It gave it a big fight feel. And here's the thing that I will say for the first time and not the last in this review. Man, I really wish they hadn't done Ilja Dragunov has been declared for the draft 3 weeks ago. Because if you set it up where it's a title match, but Trick Williams, if you lose, you have to leave NXT. And you haven't made it obvious that Ilja Dragunov is getting drafted, then tonight's match, honestly, would be a toss-up for me. Because Trick is so over, they might want him on the main roster before they give him a real title run in NXT. The same thing that they did for Bianca Belair, who was never the champion in NXT and is now going to be champion a dozen times on the main roster. I thought they might have done that for Trick Williams, but because they were like Ilja Dragunov in the draft, don't forget Ilja Dragunov is eligible to be drafted. Then you kind of realize Ilja is definitely losing this match. And that's unfortunate for me.
Especially when you didn't say, and so is Trick Williams. Because, you could just make him eligible for the draft, but he gets drafted to NXT, right?
Right.
I feel like that would make sense. Because he's a top talent and is super over, which is, special and cool because it's organic. Yeah. I like when there's an effort to do things to make things a big fight feel. This was... I don't want to say overkill because I don't think it was so much of the same of just this is a person from the main roster giving their thoughts. If you had done that like a panel or something, maybe that would have been a little bit cooler. But I do appreciate that they made an effort to make a big match feel like a big match like that. Yeah, that's an important thing for Ilja Dragunov, right? That's he's a hell of a wrestler. We're going to talk about it later. I loved that they had a callback finish to their other match that was at Vengeance Day. That was really cool, but it's nice that they it didn't feel suffocating when they went up against AEW and they were the Undertakers at NXT. This just felt like main roster people weighing in, so good enough.
Sure, that's a lot better than John Cena was there or something. So we got the D'Angelo family versus No Quarter Catch Crew. This is really good.
This was really good.
I was really good. I was severely weirded out by Damon Kemp wearing the Bryan Danielson hairstyle. I was not prepared for it. I just didn't realize he had that much hair, and I just didn't recognize it, and I was just weird. But he's really, really good. Damon Kemp has really improved. He again, when he first showed up, and he was like, "Hey, I am the other Diamond Mine guy no one's ever seen before." It didn't feel like that guy had a lot in the tank for this.
No,
and I'm like, no, you're good. Like the match he had with Eddie Thorpe, the Underground match, that was great. He's getting better and better with No Quarter Catch Crew. I'm really impressed with him. Dempsey's always good. Myles Borne was good in this. But to me, I'm watching this thing, and man, I fully copped to it. I loved this dude pseudo ironically at the beginning. He was fully a meme wrestler. If you cannot see that Tony D'Angelo is legit, then you're not watching, because he is just tossing people, just throwing them 12 feet, just with no effort whatsoever. That dude is all hips and biceps, just tossing people. Like, he does just the ease with which he throws very large men around is like just absolute ease. I'm always impressed by it. He also really gets a crowd behind him. Like, now that he's working babyface, when he gets up and he goes, the whole crowd is doing it with him. Like, he's really, really good at this. And I just don't know if this gimmick gets him to his ceiling as a wrestler. It's a really fun gimmick, and he plays it so well. Even when he has to be serious with a cartoon gimmick, it's really good. But I think his ceiling as an in-ring performer far outpaces where you can take a gimmick of there's a glass ceiling for a gimmick of this kind that he would absolutely burst through if he was doing like not that gimmick.
That's fair. I think because it is hard, because things do feel like new era-y. I'm buying into the hype a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. So I don't feel like he would be... So much of the comedy on the main roster for the past few years has been stuff we were laughing at. Like we were laughing at the performer. Like Madcap Moss, we were laughing at the performer. Rick Boogs, we were laughing at the performer, not at what they were giving us. Mm-hmm. So I trust them a little bit more to not make him feel like he thinks he's a mobster, and that they could bring this act up and do some really cool stuff with it. This was really, really fun. As a Tekker sicko, even I was like, no, I love seeing what Tony D can do, because right now in NXT, because a lot of people are learning so much too, you're getting a lot of traditional American wrestling. You're getting some technical stuff with No Quarter Catch Club. You're not getting a lot of guys that are making fun, ugly, but still safe wrestling. Like, there's not a lot of this type of wrestling, of like a lot of fisherman stuff. Like a lot of fisherman whatevers, suplexes, busters, whatever. And it's nice that it has this, because it feels like he gets in there and you're like, holy shit, he's a bruiser. Because it doesn't feel like what Obafemi's doing, because he's chucking dudes in a different way. Like, Obafemi is like, I literally can shot put a couch. But Tony D is like, I chuck people and punish you with it.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else in NXT doing that. So when he gets in the ring, and he's not wrestling all that often, so it's to me, it's very refreshing to see some get ugly in there, something feel brawly in there. And we got that tonight. Damon Kemp has come so far. Really, really great to see. I'm glad they're sticking with No Quarter Catch Club with the Gulak stuff aside, because I think it's cool. It's a cool thing to have. It feels different than anything else that's going on in there, but I'm with you, man. Like, this has been really, really fun. And we've seen so much from Tony D that, you're right, I think goes over people's heads because he's a mobster in a wrestling world, right? But like, the Gallus angle, like all those vignettes were serious stuff, and he pulled them off really well. The Legato stuff, there was some very sincere stuff in there. And this guy has something. I hope that the gimmick doesn't overpower the character work that he's able to do with it, because I think he's very good. And then he gets in the ring and he's beating people's asses like you would think this character would kick people's ass. He's telling in-ring stories of who this guy is. I'm in.
Ricardo says, so I'm glad D'Angelo Fam won, but not using the Shatter Machine as a transitional move. It was so the Shatter Machine is the finisher for the tag team of Stax and Luca. They've won as a tag team using that as their finisher, but they were not the legal men and used it on another guy who was not the legal man. So Tony won with like a Farouk spinebuster, which I have not seen used as a finisher since maybe Farouk won a couple matches with it. So that was different. I think if you had booked the match so they were finishing the match, they would have finished it with that. But I take your point. And then he says, I'm assuming tongue in cheek. Also, for as hot as the Fed programming has been, it's all doomed to fail this week after Dynasty.
Probably Fed dead. Fleet beat. You know, it's just definitely one of the two companies is shutting down. That's for sure.
That's right. So Jada Parker defeated Fallon Henley. And I like a lot of stuff about Jada Parker. I think she cuts a really good promo. I think she's got she has, as the kids say, Riz.
Yes.
For days and days. And I like a lot of her moveset. You're never gonna get me to like running
a butt
in your
rope.
face, like somebody is like doubled over and you're running at them, and what you choose to do is throw your hip into their ear, which I guess would hurt, but like a running knee lift to your opponent in the exact same position would look way more. It looks like a gimmick finisher. Like, I don't know. Like, it just feels like what Naomi did.
The rear view, yeah.
I'm sorry to do this. The same dudes who are like saying how everything goes in the ring and elsewhere, who are like, Naomi should win matches by putting her butt in people's faces, are like, hey, what if you ran and like threw your hip, but mostly your butt into this woman's face? It's not lost on me that these are all old white men and these are two black women who do that. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That's fair.
She would be so much more intimidating if like she gets you doubled over and she runs and just throws her knee in your face and knocks you out, as opposed to here's my butt. Like, it just feels like it doesn't feel like it's the same thing to me. You know what I mean?
That's totally fair. It also didn't feel like, because I'm okay with like a hip attack, but like, you have to do that move with a certain intensity to the thing that actually scares me about the hip attack, like Toni Storm's when she hits a hip attack,
right?
You see that girl's neck bounce off the rope, and right. I'm like, that is one of the most damaging things that you could do. This did not look like that. Because
you are confined. When you hit your head here, the rest of your face has nowhere to go. So like you have the thing behind you, the turnbuckle. When you're doing that, somebody who's just standing in the middle of the ring, they go wherever their body takes them. It does not actually feel like they're being compressed into a corner,
right?
Like you do when somebody's in the corner, and that's a thing, you know.
That's definitely a thing. I agree with you. Like if she just had like a running knee or something nasty, or not to like steal from Ospreay's arsenal, but like there's something really special about the hidden blade. And it's really cool how simple that move is and how vicious it looks. If there was something like that with an elbow or whatever, because she does have such an incredible presence and she does have such an attitude, and I believe she wants to beat people up. So I'm with you on that, and I don't think that's a poorly guided point at all. That like these are two black women that have been assigned that way to finish matches. Yeah. But man, there's a lot of upside with her. It's fun watching her in the ring. Her character, what did she say backstage? Someone was like, "Do we have a problem?" And she was like, "We could find one" or something. Was like a really
good.
What a great line, and it's just very clear who she is very, very early on in her doing this on television, which is really cool and refreshing. She's got all the upside star power in the world, and But I'm with you. I'm with you on that spot because it just doesn't hit the same.
Zoe Stark apparently on Twitter during the match said,
Agreed
"What's
with
up
you.
with all these girls using their asses?"
Yeah, she goes, "I use my fists."
Yeah, there you go.
It is. I'll put it this way: as a baseball fan, like if you are trying to hit a batter and you don't actually want to hurt them, and it's just a return shot for a home run, you hit them in the butt because it's like the least damaging part. So you shouldn't be using that as a way to hurt people because it's literally does like the least damage.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go.
There you go. That's a good one. JC cut a promo about how Thea is so ungrateful, and Jasmine Nix with 4 Z's and a Y and a couple of, I don't know, there's an X in there. There's definitely an X in there, but she had a shirt that she was wearing that said Cosmic, and I was like, is this the new Stardust? But like Cosmic, I thought it said Jasmic, and I was like, honestly, I don't hate that as like her little thing. Like, this is Jasmic or whatever. I don't like it's dumb, but everyone has a little catchphrase. But no, it just said Cosmic, and I was like, I don't know why you're wearing a shirt that says Cosmic. It's just weird. I the whole time I was like, she's got something glittery on her shirt. What does that say? And it's, I see the SMIC, and it's like, oh, if that says Jasmic, I'm all in. Let's see where this goes.
That's kind of cool.
But no, it says Cosmic.
Well, because she's a star.
Could be.
She's among the cosmos.
Anyway, so JC Jane versus Thea Hale, that ungrateful Thea Hale. Luis says, I thought it said that too.
Well, then they should make a Jasmic shirt if you both thought
they
that.
Should. Jasmic. Yep, there you go. Honestly, unfortunately, I feel like they would change it. They would make it more sexual. They call it Orgasmic.
See, now because I am who I am, I love that.
Yeah, there you go. So we got our NXT Underground contract signing. But they did it without the ring ropes. And I was like, did they, in the middle of the show, take down all the ring posts and ring ropes and then put them back up for another match? Or did they tape this first and then air it now? Because it feels like really weird to be like, okay, we're going to tear apart the entire ring and
Hold
then
on,
put the
live
ring
audience.
ropes back up.
Yeah,
That just felt weird. But they did the whole thing with like people around the ring, and they had Natty come out with Carmen Petrovich and sign the contract, and then they had Lola come out. Lola is very impressive. Like,
yes.
Just everything about her presentation is all really great. And she says, just because I shake my ass doesn't mean I can't kick your ass. And I was like, there you go.
There it is. You found it.
That's your catchphrase. That's your catchphrase right there. And it's like next week, they also the weird thing where they're like, Natalya and her corner person. I guess corner woman sounds weird. Corner lady wouldn't be right. Corner gal. Corner person.
Corner gal, I love.
Because I don't know. Corner man. Corner woman, but that doesn't have the same.
It doesn't have the same snap. You could just be like the woman in her corner.
Yeah.
Whoever.
Corner person just feels like somebody in HR had to go through and change all the things. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, we have to do like
find and replace.
Somebody in HR went and did a find and replace on all the documents to change anything that says man to person. That's what it just feels like to me. But anyway, Lola Vice reveals that her corner person is Shayna Baszler, who gets to come out in full Shayna Baszler and NXT street clothes. It's just still what she wears on the main roster when she's in street clothes, but still, it just reminded me so much of Shayna was the one. I feel like she may have insisted on this back when everybody was cutting promos in full ring gear, even if they weren't wrestling that night. She was the first champion I remember coming out, especially a woman, and being like, "No, I'm wearing what I walked into the building in." You know what I mean? And if I have to throw hands, I can do that wearing jeans. and
Yeah.
and combat boots. You know what I mean? I don't need to be in full gear. So I love that she comes out and that the crowd goes ape because Shayna is regarded as a god in NXT, as she should be. Still never got close to the heights on the main roster that she was in NXT, not even close. Terrible booking for years. But I love that she's here and they like, Natty looks like she's seen a ghost. Her former tag team partner. And I was like, when? Because there's just a lot of Natty has had a lot of tag team partners.
She has.
A lot of them. And I completely forgot that she tagged with Shayna Baszler for a while.
No, I feel like Tamina was her longest one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed Shayna just coming out and being like, well, yeah, she's the baddest girl in NXT and I'm the baddest bitch in WWE and you don't stand a chance because of the things I'm going to teach her. And then she was like, and if this is what you got in your corner, you really don't stand a chance. And then Karma Petrovich kicked her in the head. And I was like, okay, well now next week, Shayna has to rip Carmen's head off because like Shayna would never stand for that shit.
Of course.
And I really hope this is one of those times where normally I'm like, if you come down from the main roster and you have a feud with the person in NXT, by the end of the feud, you should put them over. Not in this case. Sorry. Carmen has not gotten to that level in NXT where she can have matches with Shayna Baszler and come out unscathed. You know what I mean?
And I think Shayna could do amazing things with her still losing too. Like I think Carmen could come out looking great in a loss to Shayna Baszler. So do that.
Yeah.
I actually kind of dug this.
1 second. Bill has an all-time chat. I love the way he puts it. Natty's version of A Christmas Carol would be a long one. Because that whole Christmas past thing, she would have to make stops at so many different houses. Remember your old tag partner, Shayna Baszler, and your other old tag partner, Tamina, and your other old tag partner. It would take too long. It would take way too long.
That's so good.
It would take way too long. Sorry.
Especially because I mean, if you don't have the Muppets version in your head, I don't even know what you have. Right. But like the idea with Natalya and a bunch of Muppets.
Where's Shayna and Tamina? Ooh. Maybe.
That rules. Oh my gosh. I actually kind of liked this. And while it made no sense that the ring ropes were down for a contract signing, it was kind of cool that they gave you the environment that the match is going to be in. Like, I kind of dug that. And I love what Shayna said. And Lola Vice is just don't screw her up. Just let her stay on the path that she's on because she is something special. And Alex, as we've been talking about the people that are really breaking through the molds here, notice that none of them have a full-time job outside of being a wrestler.
It is odd.
They are just adapting in this environment. And I think that's good. That tells me there's growth in the product because we have gotten away from, I mean, like we made the joke, but it didn't feel that far off from those WrestleLicious intros. Like it's crazy. But like the Jada Parkers of the world and the Lola Vices of the world, just getting to be who they are a little bit as pro wrestlers has been really refreshing. Lola Vice is a future star. Just let her keep cooking for a little bit. The pairing of her and Shayna is so fun too, because Shayna is such like just an MMA brawler and Lola Vice is like absolute hottie patati megastar with a nasty nasty moveset. So there's like this fun juxtaposition between what they bring to the table character wise too. And I was like, man, that could be a fun little duo if they wanted to do something. But I'm very much in the team of Shayna and Zoe should stay a team and do fun work together.
Yes. Yeah, I know for sure. Joss says Natty getting drafted to NXT. If she has a match beyond next week, then I certainly hope she will be drafted there. It'd be very odd for her not to be if she's going to continue. It feels like also we're a couple of weeks ago we were promised a Natty versus Roxanne title match.
It did feel that way, didn't it?
You know what I mean? So at least get her drafted down here to last through the spring and summer to do a real program with Roxanne if Roxanne's going to be around for a while.
Sure.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, we'll see what happens with that, but that could be good for Roxanne as well. Okay, so yes, Shayna was wearing a leather jacket and Jordan 5s.
Hell
So
yeah.
fashion icon indeed, says Luis.
It did give
Ridge,
throwback NXT vibes too. It was really nice.
Yeah. Ridge and Sean, Ridge Holland walking in, happy-go-lucky after
that badass body slam spot last week.
Yeah, just tried to murder a dude last week.
He did.
After choking a guy, that same guy the week prior, like in 6 inches from the GM who has the potential to suspend him for such actions. He's like, "Oh, it's all right. I'm here. The guy, everything's fine. And I'm feeling good." And then and Sean Spears is like doing one of those deals. Why don't you tell everybody who you really are? Show don't you almost have everyone fooled, don't you? So we're getting more of this stuff, but like, why don't you become who you really are, kind of a deal. So like Ridge giving in to his unfortunate tendencies, and basically Sean Spears harnessing them for his own good feels like something they're doing. It also feels like the kind of storyline that will get paid off around Halloween Havoc. It feels like it's that length of a storyline. And, I feel like you could probably pay this thing off by Heat Wave at the latest, but we're probably getting it Halloween Havoc. So
this feels like what they were attempting early in 2.0 with Parker Boudreaux and Joe Gacy in a non-spooky mind control way. But when they had this thing of like Gacy trying to control the beast that was Parker Boudreaux, turns out he was not so much. Mm-hmm. This kind of feels like that, but I do like that there's this added layer of like, he didn't want to become this, but it was inevitable. I still don't like where it started from. I'm never gonna. That's just the me thing. But I do appreciate that they've kind of found a groove, and a lot of credit to Sean Spears for. It sounds so dramatic to say, but like kind of rescuing this a little bit, because it felt like it was waffling. It makes no sense that he retired and came back a week later. Like, you did not have to go that far with it.
Right.
But like last week I was like, oh, okay, maybe we unlocked something. And Sean Spears seems to be, I think it's good for Ridge Holland to be nestled kind of under this with Sean Spears. I think he might fill in something here.
We already got Natalya versus Roxanne on the NXT After Mania, and I forgot about it. That's been unfortunate. That's a lot of Natty's career. She tweeted out a picture after Jinder got released of her of Jinder with the WWE title and Natty with the SmackDown title, and I was like, that is one of the Mandela effect things where I do not believe that actually ever happened. I was actively covering wrestling for this website, and I have blocked out the coinciding reigns of Jinder Mahal and Natty on SmackDown. It's just not there. It went away.
But honestly, I was a Total Divas watcher, and I feel like that's why I remember it.
That's probably what it is.
TBH.
Yeah. And somebody else that I love here, actually, Tom Lavalley saying that we sent him down a Natalya rabbit hole. Apparently, one time she teamed with Kali and Hornswoggle in one match.
Poor woman never stood a chance.
That is a long Christmas Carol. Ghost of Christmas Past. If you gotta travel to India and Ireland, that's a long time. They're gonna crack up the frequent flyer miles on that one.
Swoggle, of course, a legend for eliminating Sean Ross Sapp from Battle Royal.
So the Final Testament appears to be firmly in NXT now. AOP will be facing the Blurry Boys next week. For the tag team titles. But there's a whole vignette about how like the good old days are back because Karrion Kross is back in NXT. There is something so morbid about the man who killed Black and Gold saying Black and Gold lives forever, because it was his title reign that made NXT so weak and withered and sickly that Vince was able to show up and pull the plug and it just died. Like 2.0 was because of how bad and poorly received the Karrion Kross title reign was. When he became the champion, he beat Keith Lee, who was riding high off of beating Adam Cole, and he was the double champion, and he faced Karrion Kross, who beat him in 10 minutes. Keith Lee looked like a toddler. He couldn't do anything to hurt Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross was the champion and just ran roughshod over everybody, and nobody liked it. And so Black and Gold withered and died, and then he was like, Black and Gold lives forever. There's a joke I made to you and Elise in our DMs that I will not repeat here.
Don't do it. It was funny, but don't do it.
I won't do it. But it is very, very sick to have the man who murdered somebody say that they live forever. That's not all right. Don't do that.
I'll say this. I certainly don't think of him as the face of the Black and Gold brand.
Oh.
And I will say this, and this is not fair to him. So I'm trying to be careful with the way I say it. They neutered Black and Gold on his back because he came out there with the NXT title and got squashed by the carcass of Jeff Hardy.
Oh. It was not only that, but when you booked him as strong as you did in NXT, at one point there was a fatal 5-way with 4 top stars at NXT against him. He smashed them all in that match. So you said everybody else you had at him, and he put them all down. And like 6 weeks later, you sent him to the main roster wearing the NXT title, and he lost to the dried out husk of Jeff Hardy in 3 minutes. Like,
with the belt. Like, that to me felt so symbolic. Now, knowing what was happening behind the scenes, there might have been motivations for Vince to try and kill
I'm just saying.
But I will also say, like, I feel like, and again, I don't even think this is fair to him, but I think when most people think of his NXT run, if you look at it as a snapshot and you're not trying to recall matches, the thing that you think about is Adam Cole verbally murdering him in his tracks. So, like, him being the face of Black and Gold with AOP out there, there's also, I don't understand the Black and Gold reference when there's not enough of those guys around to, you can't pit new school and old school. Like, Gargano's on the main roster, Adam Cole's not there, Roddy Strong's not there. Like, you think of Black and Gold, you think of Keith Lee, you think of Undisputed Era, you think of Samoa Joe for parts of it. You think of a bunch of guys who are going to be doing Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. You're thinking of that. So I don't understand why you're talking Black and Gold when it's not like you can do new guys versus old guys, especially when the old guys didn't have a successful enough footing on any brand yet because they put him in a gimp mask on the main roster. Like, a lot of that's not even his fault. So I don't understand why they brought that through because I can't see where it could possibly go.
Anyway, so everybody in the locker room is watching this vignette. This is one of the NXT staples. Yes. I'm watching the vignette. We are all watching the vignette that just happened. There's a live feed of this show in the locker room while we're not having a match. We're just here hanging out. Fraser and Axiom say, they're here now, so it's fine. But we'll beat them. Don't worry about AOP. And then the Good Brothers walk in out of witness protection, I guess, and they disappeared. They disappeared. Now they're back. Apparently, they put all the mobsters in jail who were out for him. So he says, Gallows says, can you believe these guys these old guys from the main roster who just show up and decide they're part of NXT? Who would do such a thing? And he's obviously making a joke about themselves. But then Edris Enofe, who is holding a full-length mirror in his hands for some reason, says, is nobody else going to say it? Because I'll say it. Like, he's obviously making a joke. You don't need to like tell him he's making a joke or that he's whatever. he turns around and he drops the mirror on purpose. Like, well, Andrus does it on purpose. His character doesn't. It's supposed to be an accident. It's very on purpose. And then it falls down and it shatters and he picks it up and like, oh no, looks like you got some bad luck. So they're giving Idris and Ofe a 7 years of bad luck gimmick where he and Malik Blade will team together, and Idris and Ofe will literally slip on banana peels. He will fall off of they're gonna do the Finn Balor, the ropes collapse under his weight ending. Idris and Ofe is gonna be a comedy loser because he broke a mirror in the locker room. That is a gimmick they are going to run. They're going to take up time with that stuff every week.
I don't know what Brinley Reese is going to do with that, because she was like a part of this, and I guess won't be. But they had the best match of their career, one of the best tag matches we've seen at NXT against this team as just human beings.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go there, but I bet you're right.
Oh, for sure. He doesn't. He broke a mirror.
He did, that he was carrying for no real reason. So that's tough.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, if I was gonna place odds on such a thing, and I wanted to have educated guesses about such a bet, I know where I would go. Do you know where I would go?
Where would you go?
I could tell you, but I think it's just like better when
BetOnline.ag is the official betting partner of Fightful. 100% of the time when you get the odds from Fightful, they are coming from BetOnline.ag. And it's not just wrestling, it's not just MMA and boxing. It's football, it's basketball, baseball, hockey. They have the earliest lines. You can bet big with the high limits and rebet functionality. They have the fastest payouts with winnings paid in minutes and the industry's best bonuses on every qualifying deposit. They've been trusted for 25 plus years. It's not some fly-by-night company. BetOnline AG has been there. They've done that. In addition, they're trusted by millions. They've got VIP rewards programs and a ton of popular games. BetOnline.ag, that's where I go to make my bets. That's where I suggest you go to, my friends. Please just bet what you can and bet responsibly.
Head on over. You don't have to have bad luck. You can hedge your bets at BetOnline, people. That's what's up.
Okay. The metaphor is traveling to the house show in Orlando. I'm assuming from a different house show elsewhere in Florida, because if you're traveling, you don't need to carpool to the house show in Orlando. You all live there. So
that would be bad, yeah.
That would be like a road trip. And it's a TikTok. It's a TikTok video that they promoted on the show. It was fun.
Do you think the TikTok tag team is like pissed?
I don't know, but they're pissed now because TikTok just got banned by the Senate. So TikTok tag team has changed their whole gimmick. Maybe they have to be like a Reels tag team. YouTube Shorts tag team. That doesn't have the same ring to it.
Same snap.
Doesn't have the same ring to it. I'm sorry, girls. But it was a
bring tout back
for the metaphor.
We want tout.
Tout tag team. There you go.
Tout tag team.
The tout tag team. There you go. That should be fun. Snapchat tag team. That could be good. Although you'd have their matches disappear after a few minutes.
Yeah, but they go away really fast.
Weird. After they do that vignette, they do the thing backstage with all the tag. They do. I guess they really did have to put the ring ropes back up there because there were like a whole bunch of vignettes and backstage stuff between the end of the contract signing and the next match. Sol Ruca comes out carrying a surfboard. They showed her walking from the parking. Orlando is landlocked, people. Orlando is not a beach town. Like she had to drive
you have to
hours from. You have to
Cocoa
drive to
Beach,
Tampa.
is it, or
You have to
wherever? Yeah.
drive to Tampa to actually surf. So it was very actually. They showed her walking into the building with the surfboard under her arm. She surfs. Do you get it? Do you get it now? She surfs.
That is brand new information.
Her match with Blair Davenport was a trick or street fight, but it was a surf or turf fight.
Yeah.
And it was fun for what it was. It's a plunder match with comedy weapons, right? So it's what it is. But there was a cool air raid crash through a table that had a
very cool spot
that had a picnic blanket on it, which was, I guess, fun. There was a spot in a waiting pool filled with bubble little ball pit thing balls, and at one point she did a moonsault while carrying a boogie board.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I guess that's fine, I suppose. But the main thing is that after the table bump on the outside, she did the soul snatcher from the ring ropes.
Yeah.
We've only ever seen her do it from the second rope. So you have to get into the corner. She has to run into the corner. You have to follow her into the corner and then just wait for her to hit the Stole Snatcher on you. Now that she can do it from all four corners and any part of the ring as long as she's near the ropes, all of a sudden it can really be a from out of nowhere type thing. Because it used to be that in order to do that move to you, you had to blindly follow her while she ran into the corner, and then you just became an idiot. Now that she can do it for you all of the people who had it done to them the first 12 times she did it were all in canon idiots. And that's unfortunate.
You made it sound like the corner turns you into an idiot, though. Like they came into the corner and a spell was cast, and they were all dumb now.
Yeah. So anyway.
I don't know what this company's obsession with tiny balls is.
I don't know, man.
But, like, you can't surf on them. That's not how that works at all.
Nope.
We get it. She surfs.
But I like the Soul Snatcher. She beat Blair.
Yes.
I do not know if this means like Blair gets a call up. I have said if they did call up Blair, and I don't know if you want to make a mega women's faction to like rival Damage Katara, which feels like they're not. I don't feel like if they went through the tag titles, it could be kind of curtains for Damage Katara a little bit.
Sure.
But if Sonya Deville's coming back soon, and you call up Blair Davenport, I feel like you just put both of them with with Shayna and Zoe, and you make just this. They just throw elbows and knees at people, and it's just all elbows and knees and chokes and stuff. And
that's fun.
I feel like Blair could fit in there. I don't know if you're calling her up or not, but if you did, I feel like she could work very well in the mid card, especially if she's teamed with some already people who like to knock heads. So
her versus Alba Fire sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Well, Alba Fire should then get on TV first before she's wrestling.
That would be nice.
That
would be nice.
Mm.
Yeah, this match was a blast. Blair is very good at match pacing, and while Ruca is great, she's still newer at this, and match pacing can be something that's very difficult for people to get down. And she hasn't had a ton of long matches. So for Ruca to be in a plunder match with someone who's as good at match pacing as Blair Davenport is, very good combination there. Her selling and facial expressions are really coming along. She's very easy to get behind. Like, I'm glad that they've I'm sick of them telling us she's a surfer, because we know. But I'm glad that they're leaning into her being a face, because she is very, there's an ease about her that's very easy to get behind. Finisher rules. I feel like if she turns heel, it should be all the souls that she snatched, like an Ursula thing. Because if you're gonna be like a surfer and stick with this water thing, she could have snatched all these souls.
I mean, it would take a really sharp turn to become a heel turn. Like one of those things where you're driving diagonally and you got to turn to another diagonal and you got to go like,
oh my god, and your GPS is like bare right, and you're like I had to turn really hard actually.
So it's one of those. I just don't feel like you can get like, I love to surf, and also I like to do flips in the ring. Watch me do a cartwheel and land on my face. It was fine, whatever. Sometimes I'm not good at stuff. Anyway, Crazy me, Soul Ruca. I will end you. There's not a way you can go like from one to the next. So
I love that you are pretending that NXT has like smooth transitions.
I'm just letting you know. That's going to be a tough one for her. For them
I'm just saying she's
nail.
snatching all these souls.
The degree of difficulty on that heel turn is really, really difficult. That's all.
Yeah, but this is Sour Grapes, and so like we're going to talk about how it
here's
fails
one
anyway.
from a shock. I like this. Bringing up a little Point Break. Maybe she starts robbing banks wearing masks of old presidents. That's how you do it. That's how you turn a surfer heel. You have him start robbing banks wearing masks of old presidents. That's some good stuff right there. Trick Williams gets a little counseling from Johnny Gargano, who lost a tag team partner last night. It was tragic.
Don't get me started.
I was so sad. But he's like, he gives a little pep talk, and then he stands up. They're both sitting on a bench, so they're the same height. And he stands up, so he's taller than Trick. And then Trick stands up, and Johnny Gargano's like, "That's right, you're Trick Williams. Don't forget it. You got to get in there. That's right, you got to get in there. You got to." It's just so funny to watch him be taller. That stands up, he's taller than Trick. Trick stands up, and he's like, "That's right, you get in there. Don't you let him forget it. You're Trick Williams." And it was just very funny to me.
Johnny Gargano's the best.
He's really fun. But then backstage we got Baron Corbin walked up on by Lexis King, who said mean things about him, and so they decided they were going to have a match later tonight, and they did. And as soon as they booked the match, as soon as I heard this match was happening, I was like, the finish is Lexis King behind the ref's back kicks Baron Corbin in the balls and hits the finisher on him. That's Baron Corbin's swan song to the main roster, and it puts over Lexis King while protecting Baron Corbin. Boom, it's done. And everything that I thought was going to happen just happened. It's just the way that they do things there. You kind of figure out what patterns are there.
But this one made sense.
This one made sense for the story, but I feel like they do this so much, it just becomes like, this is like, if you look down, like looking at a Chinese food menu, like here are all the options. It's just all the combos, combo A, B, C, D, all the way down to like P. This is option number L. I'm just gonna run that one.
Sure.
Just very awful. But,
chicken and broccoli over rice. Yep.
So good for Lexis King to get a victory. Baron Corbin going to the main roster. Hopefully the same brand as Braun Breaker. Hopefully to SmackDown. Hopefully then immediately dethroning A-Town Down Under. So
that would rule. I don't like, what is Lexis King right now? I don't know where he is on the card. I don't know why he wants to wrestle.
He's not as skeevy to women. At least he hasn't been in a long time. That's good. They've taken that part of him away. Hopefully, because they realized how bad it looked. Hopefully.
He went from like inevitably becoming the loose cannon that his father was to almost goofy and disgusting to women, and now he's just a guy with bad facial hair and a weird entrance. They got to figure something out with him fast because this just isn't going anywhere. But and it's like right now he feels like serviceable,
right?
So like get him beyond that.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Next week we have Obafemi versus Ivar. We have the Blurry Boys versus AOP. We have the NXT Underground match. We have JC Jane versus Thea Hale, which they think is very important, and I just want to be over.
No respect
because I do believe both women can do better things away from each other.
Sure.
I just think that they're more talented than whatever this feud is, and I guess the debut of Team Bouncy Beef, and I don't know what else we got on the card. Like I fully thought they were going to set up Trick defending again next week. Like he's the new champ, he defends next week. So we'll see.
Be cool. Alex, is there anything in that hooks you?
Obafemi, certainly. Defending against an actual Viking, like That should be a test of his powers.
It should be. Well, if you need hooks, you should get Matthew Hooks. Of all the hooks in the whole wide world, this is the very best one. It's Hooked in voiceover, supporter of the show, Matthew Hooks, doing great voiceover work for national and international brands. His incredible reel and all of his work and all of the job functions that he has beyond the recording process are on hookedinvoiceovers.com. And you can check them out there. And certainly, if there's any brand on Fightful that appreciates voiceover work, it's this brand. So shoot him an email at hookedinvoiceovers@gmail.com. You can check him out on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at hookedinvoice. He's a huge supporter of us. We ask that you support him. Head over to his site. We always do quality check whoever we bring on board in these things, and we promise you that Matthew Hooks is delivering some world-class work. It's not Dusty Rhodes, but it is probably more applicable to your business than the ghost of Dusty Rhodes, and more like centered in stuff that a business would need than a Dusty Rhodes impression. So head on over, check him out. He's been great to us, and we appreciate all of his support very, very much. So please support him and check him out for all your voiceover needs. Alex with some great selling on that. That was some Dolph Ziggler.
That's the old days, back before they were all ad reads, when I was doing shows with Sean.
Oh my God, remember those days? Like, I would Vanna White shit?
Yeah, you could throw half of the screen is like an ad for a mattress. And I'm like,
what? With NordVPN, I would just have like every device I could find.
Very good. I like that. Again, Dragunov versus Trick Williams. If they hadn't made it obvious that Ilja was winning, then the match would have been better. So that's just, to me, like, if I know who's winning, and I enjoy a match less, especially a match like this where you could have easily made it. I honestly don't know who they're calling up, because both guys, like, it basically becomes a loser leaves NXT match. You know, and it is, but you made it obvious who that loser was going to be going into it, and that's unfortunate because the match was very good. At some point, I'm going to have a volunteer from the SGS count how many times in a single broadcast Booker T says, "Oh, yes!" And I believe the number will be somewhere north of 50.
I want to see, like, if we get more puns than he says it.
Good. There you go.
Vic Joseph just yelled at him on commentary. Did you catch that? He was like, "I just said that, Booker."
Yeah.
Match was great. I loved Trick using some of Ilja's tools, like him taking some of Ilja's moves to try and get up to his level. I thought was really, really good. Love the Vengeance Day callback. Felt a little similar to what we saw on Sunday with Ospreay and Danielson.
Thing. I know it was a callback to the Vengeance Day. However, enough time had passed between Vengeance Day and Dynasty that I never thought of the Vengeance Day finish when I watched Dynasty. However, what do we think? Do we think nobody in NXT who's in charge of laying out matches watched the greatest match many of us will ever see on Sunday? Or do we think they watched it and 2 days later said, let's run the exact same finish and hope ours is better? Because I was watching it going, oh, you guys can't do the exact same finish as Danielson and Ospreay, right? And they did the exact same finish. And I know it was a callback to their earlier thing from February, but it really just felt like it paled by comparison, because how could it not? How could it not? I mean, I don't know.
And man. It's not like Trick is a slouch and Ilja isn't one of the best wrestlers in the world. I'm a little torn on this, because I do feel like it's their story and it's a callback to their story. They should have license to do it. But it was real. If it wasn't timing. Literally one of the greatest matches of all time, if not the greatest match of all time.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You know what I mean? So
I'm a little split on that, because I feel like you should be able to finish your, I hate to use this phrase, you should be able to call back to your own story and finish your story with a callback to your own story. but it was Danielson and Ospreay. Like, if you told me that was your favorite match of all time, I can't argue with you on that, right? And nobody's going to do it better than the best wrestler to have ever done it and the best wrestler in the world right now. So that does make it a little trickier. But a really, really nice way to send Ilja off here. Vic Joseph also doing a nice job of basically winking a nod of saying like he carried that title with a lot of class and he did a lot of really wonderful things in his reign. Essentially giving everybody else has gotten these post-match promos like Mello and Braun. I don't know if Ilja did. But like him doing that on air, I actually thought was a really nice touch. His selling is so unbelievable when he like goes through the table and stuff. Really, really, really great. And Trick is so unbelievably or organically over. This is going to be a really fun title reign. I don't think it needs to be the longest one in the world. But I do think, because there's been so much chasing. And it did have this weird, he'd been entrenched with the Mellow stuff so much that it almost felt like this story snuck up, and it's the time he's actually winning the title. So I feel like at odds with that, because it didn't feel like as big of a deal as the story he just got out of, and it was for the title. But I also understand, like, it's the draft. Like, what else are you gonna do? You can't do this on a pay-per-view. You're calling him up. So I get it. But really great stuff. Really great stuff. A very special moment for Trick. And I look forward to seeing who's going after him, because I think there's some fun stuff we could do.
It's Karrion Kross.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I know nobody should want it, but he's definitely doing it. He came back. We're coming for every title. Well, what's the big? I mean, like, he's not going after Obafemi, so he's coming after? Well, he might, but thank God, because he's going to get smashed. But like, if he comes after Trick, he's not winning the title, but like there'll be a protracted, very long feud.
And they kind of should, because if he's going to call back to his black and gold reign.
Right, no, but he said it in the promo, like in the vignette, we're coming after all the titles. So they kind of just do it, though, you know.
It is also just hard because I'm like, okay, but what if you get drafted somewhere else, or you were on SmackDown last week? Like,
well, that's the other thing, is it's really weird to be like, okay, right before the draft, where, you know, people can get drafted anywhere, we're back at NXT.
Yeah,
that could literally change in 3 days.
I'm supposed to believe that could change in 3 days, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm very happy for Trick. He should be the face of the brand for as long as he's still there. It's one of those things where or you do a thing where if he's going to be the face of the brand for a year plus, you could easily have him lose the title in 2 months and then get it back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have said that the guy who could easily do this, because he is who he is, not just because I love him, but because of the character they've created for him. Obafemi demanding a title shot versus Trick Williams, saying, I will even put this on the line too.
Sure.
Like, that's how confident I am. But everything up for grabs. And he beats Trick Williams. Trick Williams throws everything he's got at him. It's not enough. And Obafemi beats him. And then you have Trick climb that mountain to get his title back. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff you could do there if you wanted to do that. I just don't want it to be Karrion Kross.
I get it.
So
I did want to call this up because it is kind of cool right now, because we're coming off a pay-per-view where Willow and Swerve are both champions. Obafemi, Trick, Athena, and ROH. Right. Like, there's a lot of black champions right now, and they all feel different and fresh, and that's cool. Like, it's nice that that's becoming more normalized, and we're seeing groups of people not have to earn what is defaulted to for white people. That's awesome. Right.
So the finish of the match is a carbon copy of the end of the Danielson Ospreay match, where they both run at each other, and Trick Shot knee beats Torpedo Moscow, which is the opposite of the way it worked in February. So
yes,
he dropped. Man, I feel like you're not allowed to drop that many H-bombs without it being
and not win.
No, but like, I just again change the name of the move.
Change the name of it.
He literally dropped an H-bomb and it didn't kill everything, so he dropped another one and then another one. I feel like that's overkill. But it didn't wipe everything out, so he had to go and, yeah, so anyway, we got Dragunov himself bestowing the title to Trick and giving him a big hug afterwards. Ilja had a fantastic run. He's beyond ready for the main roster. We will see if they do the thing that I want after they broke up Imperium, which is that Dragunov comes to go for Gunther. Although Gunther doesn't really have a title for him to go after, but just because he likes going after Gunther.
Maybe they meet up in King of the Ring.
Maybe that's it. And he can't because the damn numbers game. Kaiser always gets involved. So Ilja goes and finds somebody who knows Imperium inside out. He goes and recruits Giovanni Vinci, and we get a tag feud between 4 amazing wrestlers.
That would be fun.
We're not going to do that. They're not going to do that though. So
that would be a good way to kill time before we get to him and Cody, though.
Yeah,
that would be a really good use of him.
It would be good. Yeah, no, Luis bringing up the shucky ducky quack quack during the Uranagi through the table. Like we don't need to bring out shucky ducky quack quack during these very high emotional moments. So Dave Berman says that heel So Ruca would be an ExxonMobil executive who flaunts her money while bragging about ruining beachfronts and destroying ecosystems. That would be
all of her moves changed to the oil spill and stuff.
No, that's good. I like that one a lot. Oil spill, very good. Yeah, no, they had to put down Karrion Kross with Samoa Joe at the end. Luis reminds us. Yeah. And then Samoa Joe never got to defend the title because he was injured.
No, he said he was for real injured.
Was he really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Concussion stuff.
Actually. And they never let him come back, so that sucks.
Yeah, that part was dumb.
Yeah, it was really bad. Ricardo says that they should have Megadeth do all of WWE's themes. They could do a lot of them, but there are probably some wrestlers for whom that would not fit.
No, just find someone that isn't already famous that's good at it. Mm-hmm. And talk to the talent about their characters.
Meet Normus says, apologies for my tardiness. Happy Taco Tuesday. Let's crank. I actually made a salad for the first time at Meat Castle. Not for me, but after the Sheamus fat shaming, I'm trying to get in better shape.
Are you A, wrestling, and B, the fact that people are under the impression that Sheamus is not a physically fit person is...
I know, yeah.
Absurd and ridiculous.
David Pringle says, awesome, Alex, Killer Kate, Papa Paul, sisters, Luis, and all the SGS back from the big tomato to find Vern Wiegner is gone. Kersplash to you, Vern. Yes, everyone who leaves NXT leaves via Kersplash.
It's true.
Okay, so we got some puns. Let's read the puns.
Let's do it.
Here we go. Meet Normus. This is from last week, apparently. Cody Robes, Blackpool Cravat Club, Pleat Dunn, Nylon Rose, and Jade Cargo Short. That was back when it was about clothes.
Clothes one, so it's very fun. Very nice.
School puns. Insert clever Tegan Knox pun says Teachin Knox.
Very good.
And insert clever Tegan Knox pun says Tegan's School of Hard Knocks.
Very good.
Tom LaValle says Chalk Lesnar. And House of Blackboards. Dungeon Master Puppets says Juilliard.
Creepy ass school.
Mr. Showtime says Hunter Hearst Hall Pass.
Very good.
Dockhausen Chris Mueller says Cafeteria Ripley.
That's really good.
Very good. Chris Perez says Algebra Wyatt. Algebra Wyatt. There we go.
Can I call up this one because it's not a super chat, but it's really good, and I don't want to forget it.
No, okay.
Academia Yim.
Academia Yim is
really good.
Really, really good. Tom LaValle says Stand Hansen and Deliver Morgan. Stand and deliver. How do I reach these kids? Jambeard says Techno Teachers 2000.
Hey!
Mr.
High energy
Showtime
rep
says,
and a techno team rep on tonight's show.
Mr. Showtime says Teacher Team 2000. Ian R says Textbook Team 2000.
This is the most money Techno Team 2000's ever made.
That's true.
God bless
Chris
him.
Pereira says this is my favorite. Harvard Whippleman.
That's excellent.
Delgado says Cody Rhodes Scholar.
Very
and
good.
Freshly squeezed orange Crayola.
I miss that makes me miss Damien Sandow, the scholar, the Cody scholar.
Ian R says Bulletin Board Combat Club.
Very good.
Chris Pereira says Massachusetts Institute of Thugonomics, MIT. Dungeon Master Puppet says honor roll is real. Chris Pereira says private party school.
Very good.
Ian R says mascot Steiner. Greg Cherry says arithmetric Williams.
Very nice.
And that's on first period. Graded on a swerve and Scott Hall monitor. Chris Pereira says Scott Hall pass.
Very good.
Lepongi Vice says Lola Vice president of the student body.
We could do Lola Vice principal too.
That's good. Lieutenant Colonel Photo says, he wants us to sign his Veer book.
Oh, Veer.
Veer.
That's a very good pun.
They never used Veer the way they should have, man.
Nope.
He would have been so great as
They
this,
just
like
let him
the
be.
son of an Indian billionaire who she was just gotten bored of like fast cars and beautiful women and parties, and he decides, I want to train with the greatest martial artists in the world and destroy people. That's what I want to do with my life. He would have been so great in that. If you saw him in his Instagram, that dude dressed up in a suit was amazing. They never used him right. Ian R says Field Trip Williams. Dungeon Master Puppets says Princeton Ayukea. Ian R says valedictorian Riccaboni. Chris Pereira says Bookbag Jones, not Yambag Jones, Bookbag Jones.
That's very good.
Ian R says Zack Sabre Junior High. that is the junior high you wish you attended for sure.
It's just everybody's calling each other dickheads and putting each other in submissions.
Yeah, Well, that's just regular junior high.
Yeah, it's not far off.
This off this regular junior high. Louisville says Magna Cum Tuesday.
We'll miss you. We'll miss you, Vaughn.
Lieutenant Colonel Photo says Home Thugonomics. Ian R says Biology G. Dolan. And Ian R says we all miss NXT number 2.0 pencil. take out your number 2.0 pencil.
That's excellent.
This is a great one from Louisville. Braun Bersarsar.
That's very awesome.
Lieutenant Colonel Photo says transcripts.
Very nice. Very nice.
Jambeard says Jazmic Hands. I guess if you're from the School of Musical Theater, Jazmic Hands. Sure. Ian R says this is an old reference, but ditto Buffemi. A ditto was what they used to call a copy of something.
All right.
Ditto Buffemi.
Throwback.
Ian R says the dust of Ghosty Road Scholar. Ian R says Hillbilly Gymnasium, which is very, very good. Nice. Ricardo says that Miz has massive dodgeballs. And Ian R says Tiger Driver class of 91.
Very good.
Ian R says Lexus Nexus King. By the way, if you were in the Tiger Driver class of 91, you are now almost 50 years old.
You're retired. Well, Osprey retired you.
Yeah, unfortunately. Jesse Ozog said, Yuta Wheelers on the bus go round and round. Ricardo says, Carrion lacrosse team.
Very good.
And Luis Polito says, the key to peace in Graps is Lulu pencil.
Oh, I miss Lulu.
Some people talking about things for the draft. Ryan Cicchini wants Kiana and Blair getting called up to the main roster. I don't know if they have plans for Kiana to hold the title. If not, she's done everything that she possibly can there, and I do think she's ready for the main roster. So she might get, and Blair certainly was already ready for the main roster when she showed up. Jambeard wants Nakamura to NXT and give him another run as top guy there. He says he's the one to beat Ilja for the title, but he doesn't watch NXT, so he says, well, then Trick then. Fine, Trick. If that's everyone's pointing it out, it's just Trick. So I do not think that Trick should lose the title to Nakamura.
No.
I do not think that is a thing that they should do with Trick. Jambeard says, with Vince getting kicked out, Vinci. I thought I read Vince. Oh, that's a different kind of thing. With Giovanni Vinci getting kicked out, he rejoins NXT as his old Eichner name. No, they would just go back to being Giovanni Vinci. And Imperium gets returning signings, Timothy Thatcher and Alex Wolf, who were in the Indie Imperium, which was actually called Ringkampf. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose you could re-sign those guys. They haven't, but they could. Mr. Showtime says the School of Mike Knox. Okay. And then RJ says Lola Miami Vice, which is that a school? I don't know. Okay, here we go. There's jukeboxes that I didn't get to last week because my basement was minorly flooding.
But also, Alex, the most important thing that's ever happened is that Luca Crusifino has a Crusifino Law website.
He's a what?
His crucifinolaw.com. I put it in the private chat and I put it in the
amazing.
regular chat. It's
that's
brilliant.
Awesome. Oh, good.
There's testimonials.
That's wonderful. That is commitment to a bit, and I love it.
It is.
DV wants Drew McIntyre singing My Prerogative by Bobby Brown. So we'll do that. There was no danger of new Alex showing up tonight, but I think the bit is finally dead. There we go. Everybody's talking all this stuff about me. No. Why don't let me live? I don't need permission to make my own decisions. That's my prerogative. They say I'm crazy. I don't really care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn. Getting girls is how I live. Some ask me questions. Why am I so real? But they don't understand me or don't really know the deal about a brother. Trying hard to make it right. Not long ago, before I win this fight, I prayed for this and it happened. Okay, that's good. Okay. Jambeard says, since I'll be turning 38 last weekend, here's a song. I'm also turning 38 this year. Tiffany to sing Fight for Your Right to Party by the Beastie Boys.
I can do that. Where is it?
It's in the middle.
I'm clicking. Yeah, kick it. You wake up late for school, man. You don't want to go. You ask your mom, please, but she still says no. You miss 2 classes and no homework, but your teacher preaches class like you're some kind of jerk. You got to fight for your right to party. Your pop guy is smoking and he says, no way. That hypocrite smokes 2 packs a day. Man, living at home is such a drag. Now your mom threw away your best porno mag. Busted. You got to fight for your right to party. You got to fight for your right to party. Toodles. Was it the kick it? Yeah, that got you?
It was the kick it. Yeah, it was a kick it. Yeah. Kick it. Jambeard says another song turning 38. Braun Strowman, different thing. To sing Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins. Okay.
Revving up your engine, listen to her howl and roar. Metal under tension, begging you to touch and go. Highway to the danger zone. Right into the danger zone. Heading into twilight, spreading out her wings tonight. Got you jumping off the deck and shoving into overdrive. Highway to the danger zone. Take you right into the danger zone. Get these zones.
Okay. Okay. All right. Talma Valley wants Darby to sing "Hot for Teacher."
I would like that as well.
Okay. Well,
I like when people request things in the theme of our puns. I feel like it's very meta. They're like, we're gonna take all your bits and we're gonna turn them into one.
Teacher, stop that screaming. Teacher, don't you see? Don't want to be no uptown fool. Maybe I should go to hell, but I'm doing well, and teacher needs to see me after school. Think of all the education that I missed. But then my homework was never quite like this. Got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm hot for Malachi Black. I've got it bad, so bad. I'm hot for Brody King. I heard about your lessons, but lessons are so cold. I know about this school. Little girl from Cherry Lawn, how can you be so bold? How did you know that golden rule? Think of all the education that I missed, but then my homework was never quite like this. I got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm hot for Buddy Matthews. I've got it bad, so bad. I'm hot for Julia Hart, Malachi Black. Thank you.
I'm hot for Brody King popped me.
I figured it would. Okay. Unfortunately, Ian, we're not gonna be able to do one of these, but we'll give you a freebie later. Okay. Regal does "School's Out for Summer" by Alice Cooper, requested by Ricardo.
Well, we've got no choice, all the girls and boys making all that noise, 'cause they found new toys. Well, we can't salute ya, can't find a flag, sunshine. If that don't suit ya, that's a drag. School's out for summer, school's out forever. School's been blown to pieces. No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers' dirty looks, yeah.
Mr. Regal?
We got no class, yes, what?
We also got a chat asking for the same thing, same song as Von Wagner, so I thought maybe you guys could do a duet.
Fine. Von, would you like to come in here, sunshine?
I just thought it would be a good idea.
Hold on. Stone, those sausages. Well, we got no class and we got no principal, Stone. And we got no innocence. We can't even think of a word that rhymes with sausages. School's out for summer. School's out forever. School's been blown to pieces. No more table yas. No more books. No more teachers' goody looks. Out for summer, out till fall. We might not come back at all, but then I'll table you come Tuesday. There you go. Thank you for Vaughn for jumping in. Appreciate that.
That was nice of him to do, considering he was released, to just like wrap up the loose ends.
Yeah. Jam Beard wants Ilja doing Rasputin by Boney M.
Do you have an Ilja?
I don't know this one. Here we go. Oh, of course I have an Ilja. There lived a certain man in Russia long ago. He was big and strong, in his eyes a flaming glow. Most people look at him with terror and fear, but to Moscow chicks, he was such a lovely dear. He could preach the Bible like a preacher, full of ecstasy and fire. But he was also the kind of teacher woman would desire. Unbesiegbar. Thank you.
Your workout routine is crazy. Thank you, Ilja.
Okay. So we got 3 Ricky Rainbows. and we're done. 3 Ricky Rainbows and we're out. Okay?
I love it.
Okay.
Ellie, are you here?
All right. So it looks like Ian R has requested instead of the other one, once she bangs.
I'll carry that over to next week, Ian. We're way over on time.
Champion wants Ricky to just sing Kumbaya, so I will. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. Someone's singing, Lord. Kumbaya. Someone's singing, Lord. Kumbaya. Someone is singing, Lord. We've got it. We know of the singing that's happening. This is a lot of repeat. Someone's laughing, someone's crying, someone's praying. Lord. Kumbaya. Someone's sleeping. I'm sleeping. I'm so bored.
You're so bored with this
Lord.
kumbaya. You don't seem like a very I'm at peace person.
Only when I'm in Thailand, and I am not in Thailand. It's just a lot.
Out. Yeah, of
someone's
course.
Sleeping, someone's singing, someone's breathing, someone's doing drugs, Lord. Like, we know.
It's like a time to be born, a time to die, a time to laugh, a time to cry. Like, switch it up.
Right. No, it's true. Okay, so Tom LaValle wants Ricky Rainbow to sing Vogue by Madonna.
Your biggest fan, Ellie Cease, has noted that your hair has extra volume today, and I couldn't agree more. It is very voluminous. You look great.
I'm trying a new shampoo.
It works. It works.
Look around. Everywhere you turn is heartache. It's everywhere that you go. You can try everything you can to escape the pain of life that you know. When all else fails and you long to be something better than you are today, I know a place where you can get away. It's called a dance floor, and here's what it's for. So, come on, Vogue. Let your body move to the music. Move to the music. Hey, come on, Vogue. Vogue. Let your body go with the flow. Go with the flow. You know you do it. Thank you. Oh, Madge. I love her so much. So many times we've hung out together.
Done a lot of drugs, did you?
Yeah, I was the editor for her book called Sex. Ian Orr says, in the light of Louise and Vicky, Ricky Rainbow singing the theme to Neverending Story. Right? I'm a big fan of Kaja Gugu.
Are you?
Yeah. Turn around, look at what you see in her face, the mirror of your dreams. Make believe I'm everywhere, I'm hidden in the lines, written on the pages is the answer to a never-ending story. Oh, reach the stars, fly a fantasy, dream a dream, and what you see will be. Rhymes that keep their secrets will unfold behind the clouds, and there upon the rainbow is the answer to a never-ending story. Oh, thank you.
That was beautiful.
Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that movie?
I did.
It was very sad when the horse died.
It was very sad.
Yeah. No, like, usually I'm against the drowning of horses in films.
Of course.
But I feel that added something to the narrative, though. Just don't go around drowning horses in your movies for no reason. I'm looking at you, Steven Spielberg. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you.
We got some puns. I'm gonna read these puns and then we're done.
Okay.
Ricardo says college. And Meet Enormous says Jinder Mahal pass. Big Bronson reading is fundamental. Our Truth and Reconciliation. That's a book. Carrying Crossing Guard and the Tardy Boys.
Are you a big Truth and Reconciliation fan, Ricky?
Sure. It says book in
Cool.
parentheses. So I just read book because it says told me to tell you it's a book. That's
I love
all.
it.
Right. So keep cool, gabagoos, and we'll see you next time. Bye.